Welcome to How to Retail. I'm Ryan Edwards, and today we're here at the Adult Toy Megastore, and we're about to meet owner-operator Nicola Relph. Let's go and see her now.
Hi, I'm Nicola Relph, and I'm the owner of Adult Toy Megastore.
How did you get into this line of business?
Well, originally I loved the idea of e-commerce, and we were in general merchandise. So we started trading on platforms like Trade Me, just selling general consumable goods. That worked really well, and it was interesting. Lots of learning using a third-party platform. A friend of ours actually suggested, hey, we can't get hold of adult toys easily. Why don't you start thinking about that product line? Well, you can imagine we thought about it for a little while, but we decided, hey, why not? Brought in a few box loads of toys and lingerie, tested it, and realised that actually people did want to buy that product online. They couldn't really buy it how they wanted it, and really quickly the sales of that product mix compared to everything else that we had on offer skyrocketed. Adult toys themselves lend themselves really well to online. It's discreet, it's easy, all the parcels are quite small. So we thought, hey, why don't we just finish selling everything else that was general and just focus on adult? And that's what we did.
Tell us about the people makeup here. How many staff do you have?
So we started with 3, and as we've grown, we have strategically added on people every year in our growth, and as of today, there is about 15 of us in the head office, and we have about 6 in the dispatch team.
And what's the makeup of full-time, part-time?
All of our staff currently are full-time. And we have a full spectrum, so we have our own IT and development, customer service, got acquisition marketing, retention marketing, influencer and affiliate marketing, PR and customer service, and then on the dispatch team we've got our pickers and our dispatchers, and to make sure the product gets to the right place at the right time.
It'd be really interesting to know how you manage people.
Yes, so for me, the thing is, as a general manager, my job is to make sure that everyone is rowing the boat in the same direction. The core for me is to surround yourself with people in your team that are far better at things than I am. And as long as you've got people who really own their jobs and they really feel invested about what they're doing, my job to manage the people is just to make sure they're all going in the same direction at the same time with a very strong vision and mission, so they know how to get there. Part of our philosophy is to make sure that we're using a high performance framework for our people. As part of that, the core is to have strong vision and mission, but then to have really strict job descriptions so that each individual knows what they're trying to achieve, how they're going to achieve it, and make sure they feel great when they accomplish what's been set for them.
How much of an impact was COVID on the business?
I think COVID was such an unprecedented time for all New Zealand businesses, and I remember it really clearly as an organisation. And I remember sitting around the boardroom table and really understanding as a team what we were going to do. So the first thing we needed to do really quickly was to make sure that we could all happily go home, work from home and be safe and still be able to work collaboratively as a team. The second thing was to understand whether our business could in fact continue to trade. And that was probably one of the most interesting times to work through that process. So luckily our distribution centre is MedSafe registered. And so we went to MB very quickly and said, look, as a distributor of condoms and lubricant, we'd like to continue to trade as an essential service. And they gave us the green light, which was excellent. So what we had to do very quickly is go, okay, we can still trade. What does that mean for our consumer? And so we had to put messaging up on our website to make sure that they knew we could still dispatch their item. And then we needed to make sure that our dispatch centre could operate within the COVID-19 protocols and make sure our team was healthy and safe and they felt supported during that time. So we did that. And very quickly, within like 5 to 7 days, of the lockdown process starting to happen, we saw significant changes in what was happening with our sales results. So people were going into pharmacies and going into grocery stores, and there was empty shelves, and that included condoms and lubricants. And so straight away we saw an influx of sales in those categories. And then very quickly after that, we saw across the board product. So adult toys, lingerie, condoms, lubricants, pelvic floor items all increase in sales volume. And when I talk about increase, it was massive. It was like threefold in the first 4 weeks. We had to make sure that our processes and procedures of getting all of those orders out the door wouldn't fall over. Good news, they didn't, which was great. We had planned for growth, we just hadn't quite planned it was going to happen so quickly and in such a short period of time. So we survived, which was great.
I think you thrived.
Good point, yeah.
What do you think the increase in demand was down to?
During that time, people were away from their normal work environments. They were at home. It was a pretty scary time for a lot of people. And people were encouraging kind of to spend time on their mental health through mindfulness and those sorts of things. Their physical health, you know, there was a lot of discussion around making sure you went for a walk or played outside or took some time for yourself. And then the last piece of that, I suppose that triangle, was your sexual health. And I think people just took time out for themselves, and they were like, hey, if I'm going to try it, now's a good time. So I think people had more time on their hands, and they wanted to understand if adding adult toys into their lives was going to be a positive thing for them. And I think a lot of people tried it and loved it.
What happened to the profile of the business during COVID?
The massive surge that we saw in sex toy sales allowed us to receive some international press, which was really great. And what we saw was people were interested in the stats that, hey, as countries were going into lockdown, our analytics on our website, you could almost tell to the day, search volumes increased, sales increased. And so because of that, the mainstream press were interested, because they were writing about it, people were reading about it, and I think it was sort of self-fulfilling because it was continuing to normalise the fact that everyone's buying sex toys and it's all okay and it's healthy, and the discussion around body positivity and sexual health and awareness is a kind of a phenomenon that we've seen, and having mainstream press talk about it just really made people more aware. Which in turn helped sales.
How did you grow into new markets?
So Adulttoymegastore was obviously born here in Wellington, New Zealand, and we have really focused everything to the domestic market. It was easy to tell through customer feedback and our growth that people liked the value that we had. People liked the offering. So it was sort of a natural progression to go, where can we take this offering into larger markets offshore? We have started to do that. Australia, the US and the UK has been our primary focus. In New Zealand, our growth was quite often off the back of partnerships. So we looked at like-minded businesses and we said, how can we work together to get our name out to target markets that we might both share? We've done that successfully in New Zealand, and now we're looking to do that same thing in Australia. We're trying to find the right kind of businesses to partner with, and also we have a very strong affiliate program here in New Zealand that we are also trying to establish in the Australia market and find influencers and affiliates that have similar values to us around the normalisation of sex toys, the normalisation of sexual pleasure, body positivity, and then get our name out through those affiliates and influencers in other countries.
What are some of the challenges that you have marketing internationally?
Each international market is really different. The good thing with e-commerce is that you get analytics from behind your website, so you can actually dive into different markets and understand how they differ, which is really important because a lot of New Zealand businesses who have been successful in New Zealand have taken their exact offering into Australia and it hasn't worked for them. So we knew, hey, let's not do that. And we've had to try and understand, what do Australians want? What do Americans want? And be open to the fact that just because you have a website in New Zealand, it doesn't have to be replicated in another country. To change your website's really easy. And in my opinion, you have to make sure you're okay about changing up what you're offering each market to make sure the customers in that market are 100% satisfied.
So what's the future look like? What's the next big step?
We want to continue our conversations around the normalisation of sex toys and adult toys. That's really important to us. We would like to continue to educate people. So we have our very own podcast called Electric Rodeo, which is very cool. And we're just about to release ATMS TV, which is a YouTube channel. Both of those are hosted by our very own sex educator, Emma Hewitt, which is amazing. And then we want to continue to focus on our international push. We really want to see what's out there and how big we could potentially get.
After all your experience, what do you think the secrets to success are?
It's got to be about surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. You can't do it alone, you need a team. The second thing would be make sure you're doing something that you actually love, because as with any business, you do it for a lot of hours a week, so you have to have the passion and the drive to want to do it. And the third thing is probably that it's not easy. There's going to be bumps along the road, roadblocks. You just have to have the tenacity and the audacity to go, hey, we've come across a roadblock, let's smash it over and carry on.